Welcome to SmartWatchTicks. Anybody have an idea what that is? That, if you look real carefully, is the laser diode for taking your heartbeat with these smartwatches. Okay? All right. What about this? What are we looking at here? Yeah, that is the camera module inside of smartwatches that have cameras. Well, let's see if you can guess this one. What's this? You're right. That is the watch. That's the innards out of a smartwatch. And what we're going to do today is not quite this. There's actually a video out there that we've just finished where we rip apart a phone, and these are the residuals that you see from that little rip apart action. What we're going to do today, though, is look at the build quality inside of a whole selection of smartwatches that are just hitting the market. The round Android 5.1 type smartwatches. But before we start tearing into them, I wanted to respond to a couple of requests from viewers like you who left comments going, you know, I really like that you put the watches on when you showed that comparison video, but you're getting close and far and I can't tell the sizes of the screens. Could you just like put them on a pipe or something and show them all together? Well, all right, why not? It's a paint roller, kind of similar to a pipe, but here you go. Aren't they pretty? Let's look at the bands first. Leather, kind of a leather with an orange sewing. Rubber silicone with lots of holes. Rubber silicone smooth with just simple holes. And kind of a perforated band thing. Now, let's see how good you are. Can you tell the watch by the band? They're all silver clasps, by the way. These are really shiny silver. This is kind of buffed. Well, that's kind of a bronze coppery color there. All right, let's see what we have. They're all off right now, and you're getting reflections of the ceiling, but that's okay. The Finau X5, the only Android 4.1 watch amongst them, is here for comparison purposes, just so you can see the sizes. We'll turn that one on. Next to the Finau is the IQII2, and we'll turn that one on. Then we come to the Kingwear KW88, and we'll turn that one on. And now the China Vision Z9, which looks like this. And finally, what's that? I didn't talk about that one last time. Well, you're right. I didn't talk about it because we didn't have it. This is the brand new ZGPAX S99. Let's turn it on too. Now the request was, if possible, show the watches at the same brightness level with the same watch face. And iconically, they all don't have the same watch face, but I did find that this snap-on watch face was universal across almost all of them. And so that's the one I selected to be on each of the watches. Now, when you see them together like this, you can tell right away that this one in the middle is a lot larger. That is the biggest display of all. The other ones seem to be pretty darn close to identical in terms of size. And this is something in Chinese, but it is in English. Okay, so there's what they look like at full brightness. And now the camera's not going to really do it justice. That's just one of the hard things I've got to discriminate for you. But I can eyeball it and tell you right away that this is very bright. The end one is very, very bright. This is really bright too. And it's not picking up right in the camera. It kind of looks like yellow, but it's actually red hands and stuff. It's so bright that it's like washing out the actual color, if what I'm seeing in the camera is any indication of what's actually being recorded. If I were to rank them in terms of brightness and clarity, at this moment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In terms of brightness and sharpness, well, all right, let's try this. I haven't done this. Let's run through them. I'm going to start with the end one. This is that Fi Now. We're going to put a magnifying glass on it and let you look at the detail. It's somewhat washed out because it's really, really bright. The IQII2 detail. The Kingwear. There's that waterproof Z9. And then there's the S99. I don't know if that helps any or not, but you know what might really help is if we took this outside and let you look at it in the shade and in the sun and just see how they look against ambient light. Let's give that a whirl, see what it's like. Okay, let's have some fun. Here I am under my deck outside in semi-shade, semi-sun. You can see the reflections from the deck above, and you can see the sun sometimes shining on the different watch faces. And you just be the judge. What can you read? I'm going to come in on them individually. I'm continuing to move around a little bit. All right, let's spin around. Go out into the direct sunlight. Are you reading anything? Direct sunlight shining on the watches. I'm going to step back in the shade again. They are all on. They're set for 30 minutes on. They are all at maximum brightness. Again, I'm calling it the left one is the brightest. And then the Kingwear, the third one from the left, is readable. This is as close, gang, as I can get to giving you an honest review of the brightness of these watches in all the different conditions. All right, but this isn't about that, this video. This video is about taking these things apart, so let's do that. Okay, we're about to rip into each of these smartwatches and take a look at a few things. For sure, there's 2 things you need to know how to do on each and every one of these watches. First one is going to be how to put in a SIM card and what to look for. There's this little thing, little metal clasp that slides and opens and closes. We're going to look for that in each and every one of the watches. Make sure you know how to do that at a minimum. That way you can put in your SIM card and use your watch as a standalone phone. The second thing has to do with the battery and knowing how to connect and disconnect the battery from its little connector. We'll find where that is in each watch and show you how to at least lift it off and disconnect the battery in case your watch has problems. A lot of the times, the watch can be fixed if it's in what they call a boot loop. It just keeps booting and won't start up, or other problems, it won't start at all. Just a variety of problems. You can fix them by just simply disconnecting the power from the watch, waiting a minute, and then reconnecting it again. So we're going to show you how to do that in each of them. Lastly, it's a little more complex in each of these because they don't have standard removable batteries. But if we get a chance, and it's not too difficult, we will show you how you can lift out the circuit board enough that you can get the battery loose so that you could maybe replace the battery on your own. That's a little more advanced, but it's something we might want to take a look at if we can. I'm not going to go there if it looks like it's going to damage any of these watches, but if it's as easy as this one was with all these little circuit board things that just popped off, then we'll go there. Okay? We got a lot to cover, so let's get going. Here is the very first watch that we were going to look at, which is actually an Android 4.4. Ooh, it's still on. An Android 4.4 watch, not the new 5.1 Android watch. This is the Fi Now X5. And we're going to look at this one because it's the same size. It's the only one that's as large as what we're seeing in the bigger round Android 5.1 watches. This is a good choice overall because of all the other ones you see right now, this is the only one you can put those designer watch faces that we've been covering on our channel into. The Android 4.4 ones, no problem. All the round ones, all the square ones. You can put those designer watch faces that are really cool on. All the new ones, you can't, at least not yet. Everybody's trying to figure out how to do it. It should be just a software fix, but we don't quite have it yet. So until we do, if you want to put watch faces on your watch, you could skip this whole video because this is the only one. But you may want to at least look at this part to see how we do what we're doing. I grew my fingernails just so I can pry things up, but I'm also going to use a screwdriver. Whatever you need to do to get into your watch, you want to take the back of it off carefully. All right. Set it aside. Let's set these other components away. And let's take a look at what we've got. We have, that looks like a speaker. You start to look at these things and get an idea of what they are. Oh yeah, look at that. Wow. It's calling my screwdriver down there. That usually is the IR diode, the diode that does your heart rate monitoring. And this is your SIM card area. So we'll start there. This is what you look for first. You try to find a place where there's a little triangle. You see that little triangle right there? Try to make it a little clearer for you. In that upper corner, that's where you start, and you pull the little metal thing away from that triangle, and then you lift up on the same side, and that opens it up. You put your SIM card in with the little cutout this way, and with the metal connectors facing downward. Simple as that. It's just going to float in there. It's not going to snap in place. You just flip that over, slide it up, and you're done. Then you can put the back cover on, and now you've got a watch ready to use as a phone. That's the basic level. Next level, if you have an issue with power and you need to disconnect the power, you have to find where the power hookup is. Usually the giveaway is it's got red and black wires which represent power, okay? And it's a connector that oftentimes just lifts straight up. It may look like it slides in and out, but watch carefully on each of the watches. They're all different. What I'm going to do is put the screwdriver kind of under where the wires are, and I'm going to lift gently up like that. Okay? Now when you see underneath here, you'll notice that there's the metal connectors, 2 of them. Are you seeing that? Where am I? Right there. Wow, that's just a little challenging to do on the camera and get the lighting on it as well. Well, there's 2 connectors in there, and then there's the little circuit that it goes into right there. There's 2 of them right there too. Okay, so we have disconnected the power. In order to reconnect it, I would just simply hover over here, get it into position, and snap it back down into place. And you want to make sure it's in there good. See, that doesn't look like it's in there good yet. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to lift it up. Whoops. Yeah, see, I'm not really in there. Good. I'm glad I'm having a little trouble with it because it's something you need to know too. Get it lined up and then really push it down in there. Wow, okay. This one's being fussy. It seems like there's like a little piece of tape or something over the top of it. I haven't been in this one before yet. Yeah, there's a little tape on top of this. Nonetheless, we should be able to snap it in. There, I got it. Got it good and solid. Okay, I felt it. I felt it going down in there. See that? Connected really good. Okay. Now, in terms of the battery on this watch, first of all, I'll tell you, it looks like the watch quality, the build quality is really, really good. It's, I mean, all the solder joints, wherever there are any, are clean. They're not overlapping. The connectors are in there easy, like there and there. We have one here, one there, one there. We, of course, the battery one. We have something here. This is possibly an antenna. These may be antennas as well that go into the bands. You have a connector right here that probably feeds the screen. And I'm going to say this is too complicated for me to open up and get to the battery underneath. I would have to unscrew here, unscrew there, disconnect all of these things, and then try to lift the circuit board out without damaging the speaker, and not sure how these buttons would line up with it or whether they might pop out when it comes up. It's a really nice design, but it's not something that's easy enough for an amateur, which I consider myself, to take on and getting in here to actually replace or even look at the battery. So that's as far as we're going to go on this one. Now, one other thing I wanted to point out, this has a rubber grommet around the edge to give it some water protection. It's not a waterproof watch by any means. However, it does have a little grommet, but you see right here, there's like a piece of tape or something that's hanging over the edge where the grommet is, and that's going to make the water seal less than perfect. It looks like that may have been there all the time. So I'm going to come in here and try and just move it back on the other side of that grommet, so it's not going to cause interference when I try to close this watch up. Like that, okay? There. Okay, everything looks good around it. SIM card, battery. All right, we're going to put this one back and put it away, and then we'll start on the next watch. Let's start in on the first of our actual Android 5.1 watches, the IQI i2. Ooh, it's on too. Let's turn it off. Power off. Shut down. Okay, it's closing, and I've already taken the screws off of the back, as you can see. Now, something interesting, these use the flat screw, not the Phillips type screw. All the other ones I've seen use the Phillips screw, but these are flat. Oh, there we go. Just pounded right out like that, huh? Okay, there's the back. You notice that it's got the charging port recessed, which is nice. You don't get body sweat on it when it's against your skin. And there's a set of connectors then that connect over here on the watch to provide the battery charging and a data connection to your computer. All right, so here is the inside of the IQI i2. The speaker is on this side. We can see the port. So that's what's all in there. And there's one button over there. You can see the ribbon cable coming from it over here. There's our characteristic slider for the SIM card. Do we know yet how we're doing this? Once again, we look for the little triangle. See it right there? And we slide away from the triangle and it clicks. Then we just lift it up. Put your SIM card in with the cutout near that triangle. Okay, it'll just float in there. Then just flip it over. Make sure it doesn't come off of its little connectors. Get it in position and just slide it back, and that locks it in place. And then put the cover back on. This one has a gasket, and let me show you that gasket, because I actually had it apart and I was having trouble getting the charging. No, the charging would work, but the data connection wasn't happening. And it turns out that if this little gasket is even just a tiny bit off of its position in its slot, the back doesn't go on tightly correctly, and you have problems with the back being away. Anyway, it just doesn't work. So a lot of folks have been complaining and talking about that on the XDA forums, and the solution was basically just to pull the gasket out. It's not a waterproof watch anyway. It's not marketed as that. This doesn't really add all that much to it. So it does have this little gasket in there. Be really careful if you want to keep it in there that you don't move it when you take it apart the first time. Otherwise, you might, not my suggestion now, this is what I do. consider taking it out when you put the back on again, and just don't get it wet, okay? All right. Now we're going to start looking at what seems to be a customary design of these watches. It's laid out differently, but the same, if that makes sense. We're going to take a look at the 4 little connector points where we make contact with the case for charging the watch. They're over here on the side where the speaker is. Pay attention, because you'll see that on other watches as well. To the left of that is this little rectangular thing, and that turns out to be the connector. There's a ribbon cable that goes to the battery. The battery is down deep inside the watch. All we got to do is, using the long fingernails that I grew special for you guys, I don't like them this long, but for today, I can reach in here with my fingernail and lift up if I want to. Or I could use a screwdriver. There. It's as simple as that. And we have the connector taken apart for the battery. Little different than what we saw on the Finau watch, but I think you're going to see this is very similar to what we're going to see on other watches coming up. Why? Because I've been there. I've looked at them already. Okay, that's level 2. If your watch has a problem, yada, 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 you've heard me talk about it, just disconnect it. And then when you're ready, just reach down, line it up, and press it in. And it's back together again. Okay? So, changing the battery. Well, again, I have to look at this watch and say, how hard is that going to be to get to where the battery is? And the other watch, I gave up. It's just like, this looks like it's too hard. On this one, though, well, look, let's think it through. Let's take a look at what we have here. We have a button with a ribbon cable that comes over to here. And we have the speaker kind of isolated right there. Some wires here. There's an antenna connection that goes into the band. Looks like underneath here may be some more cables, and I don't know, we'd have to peek under that. This is kind of how I start building self-confidence. I'll start peeking at things to see, well, could I maybe do this? What's under there? What's under there? I don't know. That's kind of a sticky foam, huh? It's not coming off easily. But if it's just a connector under there that I could just get in, I'm going to use a little thinner screwdriver. If I could just get in here and lift it up, and if it pops up and exposes the rest of it, yeah, there goes the connector. I'm sorry if I'm in front of it, but you'll see. Okay, there we did it. Why am I confident I could do that? Because if you watch the other video on the Z-Blaze Blitz, you see it's exactly the same. That connector's there. Then I used my little connector here to pop up the antenna cables. These are a little scary. Okay, because see, they have a center post in there. Can you see that? Let me move that out of the way and get your magnifying glass. When you look at that one, you can see there's a little center post inside of an outside insulation, like a coax cable, like for your cable TV kind of connection. And that's the RF frequencies for antennas have to go that way. They can't just go in regular wires. So the connector's a little special when it comes to these antennas, and there's 2 antennas in this band here. I guess I'm going for it, huh? I'm already this far into it to try to get to the battery. Besides, we want to know what the strength of the battery is. This is a working watch now, so I'm being careful. I'm doing, I'm not dissecting a cadaver. This is a real live thing. Oh, you know what? I should always take the battery off before you do anything else, they say, in basic everything. Electronics, electricity, common sense. Should have had the battery off. I don't think because it's off I did any damage. And we have another one over here. There's one antenna on this side. Okay, we got that up. Getting it up is not as hard as putting it back. It's got to be aligned just perfectly and then pressed down. Here's another connector here. And that goes to circuit boards that go on both of these. They'll go down to the screen. Okay. Now, we've found this out. You see here where this ribbon cable is kind of coming over halfway across some of these connectors. And if these pins hit improperly, you might get that little ribbon cable between the pins and the connection, and all of a sudden you don't get data transfer, for example. Those are the center 2 pins. Or maybe not even power. It won't charge because of these outer pins. So you might need to open it up and just do something about this. And what is this? This is the ribbon cable that connects to your heart rate monitor diode right in the center. So if your watch isn't working, try taking this thing out and then put it back together again and see if it works. If it does, it might be that ribbon cable causing the problem on the diode. And then we have a connector here that goes to the button. And unlike on the Z-Blaze Blitz, we have a spot here for another connector, and we have this big gaping hole here for a camera. But this particular watch, the i2, does not have a camera. But the assembly is correct for having one. It just is not on board this particular model. All right, everything is off there and there. Now we know that we have 2 screws, one over here and one up here that we have to take off in order to get to the circuit board, get the circuit board released. If this is too much and you're just wanting to, your specific watch, just zoom forward and back and you'll get there. I think the other screw is right there, but I don't see it. Yeah, on the other watch it was like right in that corner. Well, let's see if we've released the circuit board from here. That's the battery connector right there, and the battery should be underneath that. So if we pull everything back here, lift that, we're going to find underneath here is the battery, and it should be just floating in there, not actually glued in. I hope. Whoa, it's kind of connected to, I don't know if you can see it with the lighting. Whoa. Well, that's the button. That actually belongs on the outside. Can you see the battery down in there? But it seems to be looping over and connected to this circuit board somehow, but it shouldn't be. It should just be floating in there. So I'm going to try it from the side. Okay. If I could get the speaker section out, I could get in here a little further. And it looks like these wires are just sitting in there. There's the battery. I think this is all just part of the circuitry that goes to the base of the battery. It's just getting it up. No, it's pulling up that circuit board there that's somehow between the battery and the screen. Wow. But look at this, the watch itself, that's the thinness of the actual watch. Look at that. That little thing there, that's that vibrator thing that, the vibration motor that vibrates on your arm when it vibrates. This is practically identical to the Z-Blaze Blitz that we took apart, except it's not waterproof, it doesn't have a camera, but it looks like it's got a beefier battery. I mean, look how thick the watch is. And so perhaps it's got a better battery life because of that thick battery. But I'm going to call it at this point, just simply because of what's going on there, and I can't quite tell, and I don't want to rip apart that delicate yellow stuff and destroy the circuitry that goes perhaps to the screen. We're going to leave it like it is and let you know that if you have to take the battery out, that's where it is, and this is how you would get there. You'd have to take it to the next step to release what you see going on there. Is that light getting on it? There's a circuit board and stuff you can see down underneath here, and the battery seems to be glued to it. Okay, so we're going to leave the battery in, and it's a simple process of getting all these wires out of the way, dropping the circuit board back into position below these antennas so it floats right in there. There. Now it's in position. So to put it back is simply reconnect everything, connect that last, put in that screw, hook up the antennas, put the back on, screw it in, and I'm done. Not going to walk you through all that. Oh yeah, we got to put the diode thing back in. May as well show you that. It's kind of sticky, so it's going to stick in place. So we put it there, push that in, press that one in. See how easy it is? Blah, blah, blah. And then connect the battery. All right, that is the IQI i2 watch. It's good, decent build quality. Again, everything is modular and solid inside of it. Perhaps a beefier battery, but missing a camera. If that's not of interest to you, then this could be a good choice. Okay, on to the next watch. And moving on to the Kingware KW88, the largest screen of all of the watches. Looks like it's on too. Notice it's the only one that when you get it in that rotate your arm, it gives you just a small display of the time. It doesn't give you the actual watch face, which is interesting. That's the watch face that was on here. But I digress. We are going to tear this one down to the innards, and it's different in that it has a separate compartment here beyond or in front of having to take off all of the screws. So let's power down and see what we've got. There we go. And we will use the little black screwdriver to undo this. One compartment. Now, for the first level of support, which is just being able to put your SIM card in the watch, there you go. As simple as that. We take off the back cover, and we have access. And once again, not to beat the dead horse, but why not? There's a little triangle right there we're looking for. We slide away from the triangle and lift up, and you put your SIM card right down in there. Got it? And then it'll float. You just close it and push it, and it's locked. Well, you're good to go. All right. Let's take it down to the next level. Well, I've loosened all of the screws, and now it should be as simple as lifting up, and it is. And we'll just flip this one over so you can see the underneath side of the cover. Magnetic magnets, I guess, so that you can attach. And remember, the surface is recessed here, so you're not getting your body fluids on the watch or on the contacts when you have this on your arm as a result, at least not too much. Those pins line up with these pins here. Wow, look at the build quality on this one. This is something else. You've seen the other ones so far, so you have something to compare it by. We've got a huge shield plate here. Wow, okay. There's the SIM card slot that we just played with when we were doing it through the hole. I don't know if we can go very far on this one at all. This is really in here solid, and it's protecting everything. One thing you can notice, though, is the pattern. It's getting very similar to the other watches. We have one button over on the side here. There's a ribbon cable coming back underneath this. I guess I'll call it a heat shield. I don't know. Well, not a heat shield. Maybe an RF? Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, it's something extra that these guys have paid money to add to this watch to give it a feature. That's pretty cool. There's the camera on the side. You can see the little camera module right there, and its ribbon cable.
Both of those go under this plate, and I presume there's a little connector thing like this for each of them underneath, just like we've seen in the other watch build. This is round dots here instead of long straps you saw in the other ones. However, just to the side is this little connector. This is more of a long rectangle instead of horizontal square or rectangle this way. But that, no doubt, is going to be the next thing we want to look at, which is where we disconnect the battery. And it's a little tight in there because it's floating just inside that cover. Nonetheless, I think we can get in there and just lift it up. See it right there? Shall we try that? I think we're going to need a screwdriver, so we'll pull the screwdriver kit. I could try it with the fingernails. All right. I can do it with my fingernails, but you can also use a screwdriver, a little one if you have it, or a toothpick. And there we go. We've lifted up the connector for the battery. And you can see its contacts and such. And so now it's disconnected the watch. If I were to try to power it up, it's not going to go anywhere at all, which is great. Because that's exactly what we want in case you have a little problem. We would push it down to snap it in place. This is the speaker module. Keep an eye on that, exactly what it looks like. You have seen that before and you'll see that again. Camera, microphone is down there. You see the red and black wire. That's probably soldered on the motherboard. Now, here's something interesting. In the other ones, you saw that there was kind of a ribbon cable down here, and there was an antenna connection going into the strap. We don't see that. We see one single screw going into something. I don't know. Up here, you do see what looks like stuff. Maybe the antennas. Obviously, it has antennas. In this band, you can see the cutout area. If I were going to take a watch apart, this would be the one to really go for the bands, because look how thin they are. Not the broken one that we played with earlier, where it looks like the antennas are molded in the bands. But this one would be as simple as just getting in here and prying this up, and then you can see what the antennas look like. No, I'm not about to do that. This is my best, well, one of my best watches. My goodness. Silly. If it breaks or somebody sends me another one, if I've got a spare somehow, I'll rip into this. But for now, honestly, this is as far as I'm going to take it. I don't plan on taking this thing off just to look at the same basic circuit board. And obviously, to try to remove this battery would be involving probably taking that screw out there. That screw out there, that releases the motherboard, the main circuit board. We would have to obviously take all of this off and take the connectors off of everything like we've seen before. I might even need to take that thing off and then lift it up so that you could get the ribbon cable to the battery underneath. It's the same basic design, just a way more sophisticated layout in this KW88 from Kingware. Wow. This is a really light watch too. I can't show that on the video, but compared to the other ones, I'm surprised how light it is, and it's the biggest screen of all. So, impressed with this one. Lightweight band. That's probably part of why it's light feeling, is the band is so lightweight. All right, we are going to press the battery back in place. You can do that now, right, everybody? You can do that. I don't want to see any complaints if your watch is messed up until you have done this first and made sure that just disconnecting and reconnecting the battery doesn't fix it. Hey, and if it does, leave a note in the comments. What was your problem? And how, fixing it with just removing the battery connection and putting it back in again. That would be cool to know. There's your heart rate sensor. And it's got some other little stuff. This is a whole circuit board that goes to that connector. Not sure even what that is. There's no place for it in the cover other than that little cutout area that it floats in. Wow, I don't know. NSA tracking? I have no idea. Well, there you go. I'm going to put it all back together and we will move on. Now we take a look at the Z9 watch, which came from Chinavision. And if you're thinking that it looks surprisingly similar to the Z-Blaze Blitz that we took apart in an earlier video, well, you're not alone. You're starting to see something emerging here as we compare these. We go inside and we see that the basic layout of all the components is more or less the same, slightly different positioning. But the build quality is pretty similar, and the exterior on some of them is starting to look, well, what's the right word? Identical. The software may be different. Again, some of the build inside might be different, but the Z-Blaze Blitz, which we've already completely torn down, and the Z9 right here, do appear to be very, very close, if not identical. So why are we bothering going into this watch? Well, we're doing a comparison of the build quality of all of these Android 5.1 round watches, and I don't want to have you just jump over there and say, you want to see it? Go over to that video. We're not going to go as far, obviously, as we did on the Z-Blaze Blitz. If you really want to see the whole teardown, go over and see that video. But for the sake of what you need to do as a consumer to get to the SIM card and the battery, we're going to talk about it now. There you go. There's the quintessential triangle you can see up in the upper corner, right, for the SIM card. Pull it away from the triangle, lift it up, drop in your SIM card with the cutout over there, close it, slide it, put the back on again, and you're done for inserting your SIM card. Taking the battery out's a little bit more challenging on this one because it's got that really nice protective cover over it. Now remember, this is the waterproof watch. Oh, well, I'll get back. Oh, no, heck, I'll tell you now. Remember the problem we had with the Gorilla Glass issue about whether or not it was scratched, and it turned out there was a plastic protector on it? I don't know if you can see it here. I don't think you can, but there is a little plastic protector on the surface. So your Z9 or your Z-Blaze Blitz, if you get it and you accidentally see a scratch on it and you think, oh my goodness, it's not the glass, it's the protector. Peel the protector off, throw it away, or put another one on. You don't need a protector with Gorilla Glass, folks. And you got a good watch. It's not scratched. All right, that said, this is a really good build quality, being that it's waterproof and it has this nice shield over everything, but it does present a problem for taking off the battery, which we are going to do by removing this screw right next to the camera and lifting up on this cover, which is just snapped in slightly on this other side. There, slides right out, okay? And now, just like before, there's our contacts, there's our battery with your toothpick, your fingernail, whatever you want. Just lift it up, and now you've disconnected your battery. And you can wait a minute or so for everything to clear out in the electronics if you're having some sort of a cosmic ray has come and hit your watch or something and it wasn't working. And then just press it down in place. Boom. And it's back together again. You want to replace the battery? Now I'm going to send you to the other video. Here's what you got to do to replace the battery. First, take off the battery connector. Take off this and this, lift that up. Take off this, which is your button. Take off that, which is your camera. Come back over here, lift this up. That'll take this cover off of the antenna and take that up. With all of that said, you've got the speaker and the microphone, which are still kind of in the way, but you can pry this back and lean it back a little bit. And by using the ribbon cable, you should be able to wiggle the battery out. All that is done in the breakdown, teardown of the Z-Blaze Blitz video. So if you're going to do a battery change out, I send you over there, folks, to do it because it can be done. The other ones I've told you I'm not even going to attempt. This one we attempted. And actually, it's not that hard because on this watch we have easy access to all of these connectors. We don't have to take off metal plates and all that other stuff. Just this one cover did it all. Okay? So that is a look at the Z9. Boom, snaps back in, screw it in, put the back in, screw it in, which I'm about to do, and we will go on to another watch. Our final watch in this grouping that we're taking a look at the build quality of, and many of you have been waiting for, is the ZGPAX S99. Yes, I know, there isn't a video of the unboxing and first look. It's in editing right now. Of course, I unboxed it already. We are skipping ahead and making this part of the comparison video so you can actually see what it looks like inside. But I will be posting the unboxing and first look of the S99 very soon. So let's take it apart. Now, I have not done this, so the other watches I have peeked inside, of course. That's just what I do. But this, just yesterday, you know, it's like so new. Wow, these screws are in here really tight. That have not had a chance to see what the insides look like. Judging by the way it's bouncing up, it seems like it's kind of compressed inside. You know, most of them you have to pry up. This one looks like it's ready to pop up in your face. All right. Okay. Oh, looky, I got a SIM card. That's weird. Here we go. Now, remember, this has got a very powerful dock that connects to it, and no wonder why. Look at the magnets that are in here. Wow. Okay. Long, big screws to hold the back on, and a sweet little design on the back. Look how it dovetails up to match the backing. It also has a protective plate on it, it looks like, that lets you get to your SIM card, but nothing else. Slide it back, pop it open. It came with a SIM card. I don't know what to say about that. I'm going to have to check and see if it can be activated or why it was even in here. Check yours when you get your S99 and see if it came with a little SIM card. Okay, so that's the first level that we go to, is just replacing the SIM card and putting the back on. That's all you need to do for activating it as a phone. Wow. Now, if we needed to disconnect the battery, that's a different story. I don't see any screws holding this backing in. I just see some plates or some areas that looks like we might want to take a little screwdriver and I hope lift up. Watch this though. See, that's the heart rate monitor. We got to be sure, make sure that we don't damage that. And it looks like it's glued to this plate, perhaps. Okay, that loosened it up. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, got to be real careful here. This I would not say is a good quality design overall, because you should be able to get into things without possibly ripping them. It looks like it's held in the same way we've seen it on the other watches, and that looks like the connector there. So I'm going to go ahead and risk releasing that by lifting up on it. I think, yeah, you have to take that off in order to get this plate off. So getting to just the battery connector is a bit of a challenge in the S99. There you go. You see how that whole thing is part of this cover. Okay, now we're inside the watch, and this should really be looking like familiar territory. It is to me already. I've got my antenna connectors, and I've got that thing, and I've got that thing and the other antenna connector. I've got the soldered in microphone port, although there's no hole. Oh, you know what? They moved the hole to the front. It's right here on this watch. Not on the side like it was before, because now we've got 2 buttons, okay? 2 buttons instead of 1, so we have a bridge connector, but it goes to the same place. The camera underneath goes to the same place. This is the same basic module that is in all of the watches. Well, most all of the watches we've seen. Definitely the Z-Blaze Blitz Z9 watch. There's the speaker. All of that looks familiar, right? And of course, by now, you know where the battery connector is. With fingernail on hand, we can lift it up. And we have now disconnected the battery on this watch. Simple as that. Okay? And I gotta tell you, since it's brand new and I really like this watch, I'm not going to tear it down to the point where we would get the battery out, because the build is exactly the same as what we've seen in this one. Remember when we took this apart in the other video? It's exactly the same. So if you want to get the battery out of here, you're going to end up taking this motherboard off, or at least loosened enough so that you can tilt it back this way, and holding on to here, you'll be able to wiggle the battery out from there. And I don't know its dimensions. Oh, by the way, in the other video, I said centimeters all the time, and I know it's millimeters. I don't know. I was having a lickdastic moment. Just wiggle it out, and then you got yourself your battery that you could replace. And it's pretty cool. If they were all the same dimensions, you could just get a bunch of batteries as backups for your whole army of watches, right? Maybe that's what I need to do. Also, by the way, we had a request on the bands because we have a little coupler thing that I'm going to show you that you can purchase off of eBay, for example, and replace this with a different type of a connector, but it depends on the band width. So we're going to let you know what the dimensions are on the bands of each of these watches in case you want to buy one of those connectors. Back to the watch. This is the S99, and that is the way it's put together. This one I do need, I feel, to show you how to put back. This obviously is going to be easy. We just press the battery back in place and it's there. This is a little different. We've got that connector that needs to go in there in order to get the heart rate monitor to work. So we have to position it in the right direction. We have to kind of get, I would say, this side close to started. And now, here's where we hope, are you seeing this? We hope this lines up right in there in a way that we can take a small screwdriver or toothpick or something and reach in there, line it up, and press it down into position. Wiggle it into place. Okay? It's now there. Really can't tell if you can see this on the camera. I hope so. You don't want to lift this thing out and rip that off, or you're not going to have your heart rate monitor. But the fact that it is now positioned there means we should be able to press this the rest of the way down and snap it in place. Now I can put the back on and we are done. All right, let's talk about these bands. Well, we know it's pretty difficult, if not impossible, to change the actual bands on these brand new Android 5.1 smartwatches. However, you could change the clasp to something like this, and a few people have ordered these butterfly deployment watch band double push button fold strap buckle clasps. Yeah, but the problem is you need to choose a color: silver, gold, bronze, black, and you need to choose a size. What is the width of your end of your watch band so that you can stick it in there? So we're going to do some measurements for you on each of our watches that we've just torn apart. Now, thank you everybody for correcting me on the difference between a millimeter and a centimeter. I'm an English kind of fellow. I do inches and Fahrenheit and stuff like that. But we all learned, so We're looking at millimeters, even though it says it's a centimeter scale, right? Okay, so in terms of millimeters, we'll start with our number one watch, which is from FiNow. And this is the FiNow X5, the Android 4.4 watch. This is not the watch that runs Android 5 like all the rest of them. However, you may want to put a clasp on it, and we will try to measure the width of it. This is 2 millimeters or 2 centimeters, 20 millimeters. We're going to do it all in millimeters. So the end here is 19 millimeters is what I'm getting. The light's kind of probably in the wrong angle for you guys. Let's turn it around this way. Now it's off the screen. I want you guys to be able to see it as best you can. And if I line the 0 up there, like that, yeah, I'm seeing 19. Oh, I'm right in the way. I'm seeing 19 millimeters when I have the edge at 0. 19 millimeters on the X5. What do I like about the X5? Well, for one, my button comes out. There's a video on that too. That makes it a nice, really attractive 2-button watch, but it's pretty good as a 3-button watch. The thing I like the best about this is it's really bright, as we saw, and it's the only one of the larger format watches that will allow installing the custom watch faces. All the other ones, the Android 5.1, for whatever reason, we have not figured out how to put custom watch faces on them. So if you like all those hundreds of watch faces and you like the bigger size dial, there's only one watch out there. You're looking at it, the FiNow X5. Okay. The next watch we looked at was the IQI i2, which is this one. And when we measure this band at 0, I'm getting 19 as well. 19 millimeters right at the end. Okay. And what do I like about this watch? The markings are somewhat subdued around the bezel. It's a single button watch, nice brushed finish. Thick as all get out. Anyway, I don't know, heavy. It's a nice watch. Okay, the i2. The next one is the Kingwear KW88. And it looks obviously like a much thicker band, which it is. Line up at 0. I'm getting, where's my 2? That's way over there. 21, 2, 3, 23. Yep, 23 millimeters, if that's 24 and 25 right there. 23 millimeters on the KW88. What do I like about this watch? Wow. Well, all right. Nice that you can get into the SIM card separately. Thin-ish design. At least it looks thin because of the way the gold or whatever color you've got is in there. It seems to be lighter weight. Camera. Really? The largest display other than the X5, the brightest display. These two had the brightest displays of all that we looked at when we went outside. It's a nice watch. This is a very nice watch. You know, people are going to ask, this is why I'm saying, what do you like about these? I will get comments going, well, which is your favorite? I want to buy the one you like. Folks, you got to decide for yourself what you like. Each one fits a different mode, a different role. Okay, we are looking at the Z9 watch, which is very similar to the Z-Blaze Blitz. I keep having to pause to say that because it's a tongue twister. And I line it up at 0, and we are looking at right at 20. The Z-Blaze Blitz is coming in at, wow, I could call it 21. It starts to taper down here. I'm not sure where you're supposed to measure it. I would imagine it's got to be back in the thicker part. Yeah, 20 millimeter on the Z9. What do I like about this one? Well, it's waterproof. It's got Gorilla Glass. I will never forget that it has Gorilla Glass. It's a good loudspeaker, from what I remember. It's got a camera. I guess the waterproof is the thing I like the best. I don't have to worry about it getting wet. It's a really nice watch. Okay. And the last one we have here is the ZGPAX S99, which comes in at a whopping, resounding, infinitesimally incremental 21. Lined up there, lined up there. Yeah, I'd call that 21. Okay, 21 millimeters on the S8. S99, sorry. What do I like about this watch? Well, it's kind of too new. I haven't really had a chance to play with it. I really like the looks of it. I'm one more for kind of the clean look in the circle around it, because we have so many different options in watch faces. To me, it just kind of starts to get cluttery when you have all this writing-ish stuff around the edge. So it's a personal preference, but I would lean more toward the clean look. Yeah. With that said, there's nothing wrong with the others. It's just what are you going to use it for? Are you going to go out on the town? Do you want to look elegant? Do you want it to be a show watch? Well, you got that kind. You got more of the sports look, in these. And then, of course, you got waterproofing and ruggedness in this. They're all great watches. My suggestion, buy one or two. Start out with one and then gravitate to another one. You can't go wrong. We still want to take a look at each of these watches and how their software works, which is very similar but different amongst all of them. You also need to see what they look like when you turn them off, because each one has a different kind of a display when you press the off button. Some are similar, like these two here look, they're going to fade out on me, look similar. And these guys look similar. Right? I mean, that has a power save option as well. These other ones don't. So you could start setting them into categories as to which ones have similar software. And of course, our Android 4.4 is completely different. So much more to go. We will look at the software differences as we continue exploring Android round watches. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again.